You may have expected 4 panelists. I have 3. Do you remember in the virtual world when you're doing a panel with 4 people and someone has a horrendous broadband connection and disappears from the screen? Something similar happened today. It's not virtual, it's no broadband, but someone left to the airport. So, no big deal because I have here 3 fantastic people to discuss today's topic. So, do you want to introduce yourselves? Adam Zeman from Kaltura, Diana Buding from ITV Studios, and Michael Iskas from Antenna Studios. Do you want to introduce yourselves to the audience?
Ladies first.
Yeah, ladies first.
Thank you.
By Diana.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon in the meantime. Hope you are doing well. My name is Diana Budding. I'm Director Global Content and Productions at ITV Studios, responsible for the global rollout of all unscripted formats.
Thank
Let's
you.
keep it short.
Adam?
So, hello, good afternoon. My name is Adam Zeman, and I'm in charge of business development for Kaltura. We at Kaltura, we are an everything video company. We are serving media and pay TV providers with cloud TV platforms.
Fantastic. Michael?
Yep, my name is Michael Iskas. I'm the CEO of Antenna Studios. We develop, produce, and distribute fiction, factual content, and entertainment for the Antenna Group. We are headquartered in Athens, and we have a footprint in CE across 12 markets through our channels.
Fantastic. So what are we going to discuss today? The game for customer attention. Why? At Omdia, we track more than 5,500 streaming video services. With so many services around the world, how can people find that content? How do they know what to watch and where to watch it? What is happening with technology and data? Can they help us predict which shows will do well or not? How is consumer behavior changing? How did the pandemic affect consumers and what they want to watch? How can we retain customers once they come to your platform? Where do you promote your content? You will find answers to all these questions right now, right here. Let's start with you, Michael.
Well, that's very dramatic.
It does.
Like, I don't have all these answers.
Me neither.
So let's start with the basics.
Yeah.
You are based in Greece.
I'm based in Greece, yeah.
You work for Antenna Studios. You are a
Yeah.
distributor, a producer of content.
Yeah.
You have SVOD, you have AVOD.
Well,
Tell us a bit more
group,
what you
the
have.
group has free-to-air TV channels, 2 TV channels in Greece. There is a new SVOD platform called Antenna Plus that was launched 3 months ago, and then there are pay TV channels in Central and Eastern Europe that are also part of our footprint. But my main role is to run the studio, so to develop drama, to develop series and comedies and entertainment shows, and lately docuseries and documentaries that will work in Greece, and then will work in CE, and then will have a potential to travel internationally as well. But going back to consumer attention or customer attention, I was listening to the previous speaker from SPI, and the comment he made about 25,000 decisions consumer has to make on a daily basis is so true. Because as a creator and as a producer, I keep saying to my producers and my teams that we're not really competing against the other Greek TV channels who are on air at the moment in time when our shows go on air. We're competing against all the distractions an everyday viewer has, whether it is TikTok or constantly checking your LinkedIn profiles and Instagram and checking the websites. And there's so many reasons why somebody is not going to watch your content. So you have to earn the attention. It's not for granted. Like 10, 20 years ago, you would take it for granted. It was a 5 TV channels world or 2 TV channels world in some markets, so people didn't have a choice. Now the choices are in abundance, so you have to earn the attention. And that's, for me, the starting point to the kind of content we create, the kind of content we put our money behind, the type of writers we sign, and how we produce what we produce. So it goes back to what's the time, what's the occasion when somebody's going to watch your series or your event television, and then what's the topic. And once you nail the time and the topic, then you fix it in a way that will attract the attention.
You mentioned, Michael, TikTok, LinkedIn, social media as distractions,
Yeah.
as a competition. But don't you think if eyeballs are in these platforms, it's an opportunity that you use those platforms to promote the content you produce?
Yeah, it's an opportunity for marketing your shows, but it's not an opportunity for consuming your content. If you know, so it's great to market your content, but I don't think it's a great opportunity for people to consume your content, because you want people to consume your content on the platform that is paying for your content.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be really honest, if you take a look at a few of our biggest shows, then you see that you need a whole 360 approach to really survive in this world. And it doesn't mean that linear alone is not enough anymore. And to be really honest, we see a lot of hybrids, we see a lot of linear together with asphalt, but also the whole 360 approach where we use, for example, the metaverse for the voice, where we have a pilot, but also a wonderful new, elements and TikToks and so it's really important to see that you want to keep your older viewers or the viewers you had before, but you also want to attract your newer, younger audience, and that's really important in those days.
So going back to you, Diana, because you work at ITV Studios, unscripted content, lots of reality shows and lots of that kind of content, that it has been very popular during the pandemic and right now, not just for free-to-air, platforms like Netflix, some of the best performing shows are in fact unscripted. I think we talked yesterday about Selling Sunset. So tell us a bit, for the unscripted content, how the last 2 years have been, and what do you have in the pipeline to look forward?
Well, if we, for example, that everybody knows The Voice, it's already for 11, 12 years on air. And to keep that on air, to keep it fresh, you need to come up with a lot of new, fresh elements. And our consultants are always on the floor locally to talk with the broadcasters, to talk with our clients, and to listen what the needs are. And we collect all the new elements, we try out. And if we think we see something good, we exchange it immediately. So that's an ongoing business, a daily ongoing business to keep your format fresh. But on the other hand, there's also you need to be flexible, because every culture has its own way of showing their formats. But you need to be careful as well, because the more variations you have, the easier it is for your competitors to come up with a copycat. So on one hand, you do the longevity of the shows, really important, keep evolving it, the world is changing rapidly. And on the other hand, you also need to do the brand protection. So it's all the time a balance between those two, and it's not only for The Voice, it's also for a lot of other shows.
So you mentioned localize that format in different countries. Yes. You mentioned the challenge of copycats, how to make sure people do not copy the format in other countries. But let's start from the beginning. If someone here wants to launch a show, what are the recipe for success? How can you make a show successful, a show like Love Island or The Voice that you said is now 10, 12 years? Also, why in some countries it may be very successful, but the same show may not have been that successful in others.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, I can tell you something about it. When we started, of course, we have our priority formats, and we know that travel really well. But how do you start that? First of all, building a brand is really, really important, because If you have your brand, your logo, your music, the whole look and feel worldwide the same, it's also very interesting for big global brands to sponsor your show. And in these days, it's really, you know, budgets are under pressure, so it's really important to take a look at that as well. Not only, well, Michael, you discussed it yesterday with us, that the cost of your personnel are sky high at the moment, but that's almost everywhere. So we face the same problem. But also your budgets due to COVID and all other kind of things are really under pressure. So you need to take a look at that part as well.
And we will talk about costs, and I would like if you give me ideas of how much scripted versus unscripted cost and increase in other costs. But before that, I want to move to Adam. And I want to say a quote that I don't know if you all agree or not. According to me, content is not king. Yes, that's my statement. And it's not because I was drinking in the party or I was dancing like crazy, as some people told me, but I do believe content is not king. Why do I say that? Imagine we're in Croatia. And the government spends a fortune building the best hospital in one of these islands. Whoever goes to that hospital will cure any illness they have. But nobody knows where that island is. Nobody knows which boat to take. Is that hospital good for society? Another example, they built a crappy hospital in this hotel, floor 1, behind a red door. There are lots of signs. Crappy hospital is here. Yes, it doesn't have all the technology, all the advance, but people know where to go. They may go inside, and if they have a little cut or something, they will be cured. That's why I said content is not king. Discovering that content, making sure people know where to find it, is king. And if you have both, amazing. Adam, will you agree?
Thank you, Maria, for the question or the statement. It's a very, very brave one, to be honest, considering our co-panelists. So, you know, let's hope they don't run away after this. So I would say that you're right in a way that every product, and content is a product, needs to find the way to the consumer. And I'd like to follow up on what Michael said, that when you're creating content, you need to pay attention to who will watch it and what time they will watch the content. But these days, we are facing a big competition in the market and changes in the customer behavior, which means that we need to take in account more parameters, like what is the distribution mode, how you distribute, what devices the consumers watch the content on, what time of the day, which room of the house, because that defines their demands on quality, on duration, on engagement. So there are just so many parameters that are coming from how the content is distributed that you need to consider when producing the content.
So I'm going back to that, and so much content available, where to find it. Another big problem with all this amount of services as well, it became piracy. We can claim it's subscriber fatigue, or we can claim as well that consumers do not know where to find that content. For example, last year, December, HBO Wonder Woman, it was released in HBO in the US, in other countries in cinema, in other countries nowhere. So people that they wanted to pay for that content didn't know where to watch it. Why is that, Adam? Is because people don't like to pay, or people don't know how to find that content based on what your clients are telling you?
So we see that all around talking to our clients that everyone is really hungry to find new ways how to fight for the eyeballs, because that's what it's all about. We're fighting for eyeballs. But I would say, as you mentioned, subscriber fatigue. In our opinion, when we see the high competition in the market and the huge supply of content that is on the market, it's not a bad thing, right? Of course, it makes the life a bit more difficult. There are new challenges for all of us here. Yeah. But for me, it means that the market, the industry is maturing. So it means that we are getting into an age when the users are not dependent on one distribution channel that is fixed in their living rooms, and they have more rooms how to enter this. There's OTT, there's mobile devices, and there are many ways how the content can get to the users. In order to make sure that our content is the one that gets to the user, we need to know the data. So that's why we tell all our customers, be brave, make the first step, go direct to consumer, because this is the big change that it's coming for content providers.
But
how to get directly to the consumer and how to know my customer in person. I don't want to know that he's a part of this, 1 million stereotype group.
But that is why what we see is a spin-off of big formats work really well, because on one hand it's scary for a broadcaster to step in something big new, although there's a lot of requests, but on the other hand they want to have a track record.
Yes.
And if you take a look at Come Dine With Me and The Chase and The Voice, there are a lot of spin-offs already, and that works really well.
I agree. And also, Adam, you said that people need to be brave enough to launch D2C services. Michael, I think you have been brave to launch SVOD services in Greece, and now you want to be brave to export Greek content around the world. What are the challenges exporting Greek content? Because, as we said yesterday, it's not the same English, Spanish language that is really popular around the world, with other languages not being spoken in so many countries. So,
the group has been brave in launching Antenna Plus, but I think many broadcasters in smaller countries like the size of Greece are launching SVOD platforms now, so it's definitely a trend. The challenges you have as a small, in quotations, market when going on this journey to develop and produce original, authentic content that will attract the local audiences, but also have the potential to travel internationally, are the same, I think, across most of these countries. You don't have the budgets, you don't have the budget size of a global streamer, you don't have the budget size of an American network, you don't have the budget size of a UK broadcaster, etc. So you have less money to play with. So what you have to do really is, you have to find the right to talk about topics that only you can talk about. So you need to make your disadvantage, the financial disadvantage and the size of the market disadvantage, into an advantage. So you need to find what are the stories that only you can talk about, and to tell these stories in a way that will become relevant both to the local audience, but have a universal appeal to an international audience. I'll give you an example, so I'm not talking theories here. When we are producing for the SVOD platform, we push the creative boundaries and we talk about stories and content that is much more, edgy than what it is for the free-to-air TV channel. So, for example, one of the series we've co-developed and co-produced is called The Friend. It's about the topic of loneliness in a world where somebody decides to start selling his services as a friend to people who are willing to pay by the hour. So in a world where you have millions of followers or thousands of likes, how lonely we are at the same time, and you're pushing that boundary. Now, this resonates with an SVOD younger demographic. It's not something I would go on prime time on free-to-air TV channel.
Yeah. And this is exactly a topic I wanted to ask you, both of you, starting again with you since you're mentioning it. Which genres, which topics people love, maybe after 2 years in a pandemic? We know that one of the genres that travels well around the world is crime, thrillers.
Yeah.
Apart from that everyone talks about.
Yeah, there's a lot of crime going on in the media world right now.
We are bored of crime.
Yes,
well, no,
a lot
not
of serial killers,
crime series are great,
and
but
bodies found
everywhere.
Apart
from that, what do people want today? You mentioned love, you mentioned...
Yeah, I mean, people want to think about topics that maybe they haven't thought so much about. So you need to understand what are these topics right now that are trending and topics that everybody is talking about. So I'll give you another example. We're creating a docuseries about relationships and in the military and relationships in the workplace, and whether they are strengths or weaknesses, whether they're considered to be strengths or weaknesses. But we're telling the story and especially heterosexual and also homosexual relationships, through the eyes of an ancient Greek army that was found buried, 300 of them found buried in a mass grave, holding hands. So 150 couples of male lovers as warriors, fearsome warriors, some of the best warriors in ancient Greece, that were killed by Alexander the Great. So what are we doing? We're telling a story of ancient Greek intellectual property. It relates to the 300 vision people have of ancient Greece, but through a different perspective, which talks about really, if back then in this army it was okay to have people in relationships fighting, because this was making them being stronger, because they were fighting for the other half, and they were found buried holding hands. Why is this considered now a weakness to have relationships, not only in the military, but in the workplace in general?
Michael, let's ask the audience.
Yes.
Who thinks the workplace is the best place to find your partner and is a strength, and relationships at work are great? Hands up. Oh, one person.
Only one. Yeah.
Who thinks relationships in the workplace can end up in tears, chaos, disaster? Oh, one person said yes.
Also only one.
Looking forward
Are
to
you
watch this
married or?
docu-series.
Probably.
To be honest, I love this subject already.
Yeah.
Because
Well, it's
you
doing
touch...
really well. I mean, there's also international interest about this, and it's already a big international co-production we're doing around it. But the reason why I'm mentioning these examples is because you need to understand what's the audience you're trying to reach on the platform you're trying to reach, and then give them something that they cannot get for free on a free-to-air TV channel, for example.
So you're saying as well that the content you produce for a pay window is completely different to the one for free,
It needs to have a different perspective. While for free-to-air, mass market, prime time audience, you go for something that is more mass appealing. We're producing a telenovela, we're producing content that has a wider appeal, but still it needs to be about something that only you, as a Greek producer, can create for a Greek audience that will engage. Otherwise, you don't have a chance to compete against the American content or the English content that is, 10 times the production value.
So docu-series, love stories, two very good topics.
But this is a fantastic story, of course. I mean,
Yes.
come up with a lot of other stories.
We already want to watch it.
Coming soon,
Can you give us an idea on budgets? How much it costs to produce prime scripted drama in Greece?
Well, I'm just going to give like a range. So right now, what we're seeing in Greece, or a market, it's an 11 million people market, for premium drama, so crime series, crime noir kind of genres, it's anything between 150 to 350 an hour to produce, like a 10-episode miniseries, for example. Yeah, so it's still very cheap in comparison to other markets, but for the economics of a small market, it's a lot of money.
And probably more successful than shows that they cost millions to millions. So moving to you, Diana, I want to ask you about budgets as well, because people have the idea that unscripted is really cheap, so if you don't have money to produce a scripted, move to unscripted. But you told me that it varies so much, the show, the country.
Of course it does. Of course. If we only take a look at The Voice, and The Voice in Albania has a totally different budget than The Voice in the US, because only the coaches in the US cost even more than a whole series somewhere else. So it's so difficult to compare, and The Voice is quite an expensive unscripted show, and of course we have also cheaper shows, but it varies absolutely. You can't say there's just one line to show that.
And I heard that the cast and crew, the talent at the moment, because of so many streamers, so many people producing, increased 20% on average. Like finding talent now is a real challenge, and prices went through the roof. Is that true?
In our situation, I think there's like a war on talent going on right now, whether it is cast and crew or whether it is writers. We're seeing 20% plus inflation year on year. And the reason is exactly what you described. So there's a lot of demand from the local free-to-air TV channels, from the new SVOD platforms that are launching, the international streamers that are coming to Europe and different markets, they also want to have some local production. So there is much more demand than existing talent out there. So what can you do? Either, well, I think you have to do both. You kind of invest in grassroots. So you invest in, we have around the Antenna Media Lab, the Antenna Script Academy. So you try to build local talent and feed them into your productions. But at the same time, you need to go for existing writing and creative talent and kind of build long-term relationships with them, but give them the freedom to create and have the security and the safety of being in a place where they can do their best work. But it's really tough out there to find talent.
And that's what I was going to ask now to Diana. Two questions. First, because we mentioned which genres are now popular in scripted. In unscripted is also love, dating shows, cooking, food, talent. What is popular right now, and what are you after in case someone here wants to work with you and they want to start thinking which show to produce next?
What I already said, you see that our most important shows are still doing very well because of the spin-offs as well. We still see that there's a lot of requests for talent shows, singing talents, all kind of talent shows, but also dating. Take a look at Come Dine With Me, where we have very nice spin-off, and The Chase and Beat the Chaser, so game shows as well. So we still see that a lot of our big brands are still doing really, really well.
And give us an example. You mentioned how different is localization, adapting to different countries. A show like Come Dine With Me, how different is in France versus another country, for example?
Well, France, I mean, you want to do the cooking over there, of course, because they cook fantastic. And but if you take a look at Come Dine With Me in Turkey, then the whole experience at home with the dancing and it's much more an event. So you see a lot of differences on one format everywhere, and you need to be flexible here because that works in Turkey. If we do that in France with the whole dancing and the whole event atmosphere, it absolutely doesn't work in France. So you need to listen to your broadcaster and continuously in a good discussion.
Now, before I move to Adam, I want to ask you both, how do you finance content? Because obviously budgets are difficult at the moment. Even companies like Netflix, that they had a bad quarter, they're going to be very careful with where they spend the money. So how do you finance the content you produce? What is the role of global brands? Because we speak a lot about advertising, fast, AVOD, and speaking recently with Rakuten, they mentioned that in order to produce original content in advertising, you really need to partner with a global brand. So they gave an example of a show, scripted content produced with a brand Rolex, where the company Rakuten and the brand Rolex 50% promote that content, produce that content. In your case, for your shows, what is the role of a brand to help you finance your shows?
You are asking me, yeah. Really, really important. We have some, again, Come Dine With Me. When I started at ITV a few years ago, we are in 46 countries and we had 46 different logos and 46 different titles. You can't speak about a global brand. It's really difficult to put something online or, whatsoever. So you really can't build a global brand. And that is really, really important those days. So we try with all our formats. For example, Love Island. When we started a few years ago, it was in 5-6 territories. Everywhere a different logo, and now we are in over 20 countries, and we did a whole rebranding of the logo. So we have a big new a global makeup sponsor. We have a big sunglasses sponsoring for the show, and that really, really helps a lot to finance your expensive shows.
So again, anyone producing content, if you find a brand to help you producing, try to find it.
Come to us.
Michael, how do you...
Yeah, look, I mean, I've had lots of experience with global brands and local brands in that space for many years, and my key learning from this is that brands getting to pay for content is something that has been going on for decades. Yeah, it's not a new thing. They have the same problems about getting customer attention that we are talking about here. They have the same problems for their brands. The question is how early in the supply chain you can get a brand to get involved in as the risk increases. So to get a brand to put its money behind development is a high risk investment, but it's a low capital expenditure for them. To get a brand to sponsor something that works in 150 markets is no risk for a brand, but it's a high investment for them. So the question should always be, how early can we move brands to get into this risk management business we're all in and make them feel comfortable and confident to come to in this journey with us?
Yeah.
Sorry, and that's the strength of a big global company like ITV, because we have this small global group where we absolutely point out our main priorities, the new formats where we absolutely believe in, and we from scratch we immediately start with a global brand, a logo for the whole world. And so you need to start, if you really believe in something, from scratch.
Which now, talking about advertising and the role of technology and the data can do wonders in the advertising world. And by wonders, I mean, if you have a piece of content, can technology predict where you should have the ad break? Or, as I saw them more recently, if you have La Casa de Papel, this great Spanish show, where people are drinking Estrella Galicia in Spain, can the same episode show the characters drinking a local Croatian beer in Croatia, a Singapore beer in Singapore? So advertising is more than adverts. It's a lot of what you see in the content, where to put adverts, being innovative around the whole world. Are your clients, if you can give us use cases or case studies of clients, see advertising as the next big thing because they cannot survive just with SBOT and monthly subscription fees for video?
Yeah, so for sure, targeting advertising and personifying advertising is a big topic for many of our clients. But what's happening in the market is that we are seeing, especially in the subscription world, we are seeing that the growth of subscribers is decreasing. And it's not because people are tired of watching content. Actually, the overall time people spend watching video is increasing. But what's happening is a phenomenon we call churn and return. So there's such a supply of various platforms and content in the market that people start to be more savvy and more picky about what they watch, and they realize, okay, I like to watch reality shows, so I subscribe to ITV platform when the reality show is on, but then I cancel the subscription and I go to somewhere else because off-season I want to watch something else. And this is the big fight that our clients are fighting right now, how to address the viewers so they don't leave us, they don't churn, and they keep generating the revenue. And the goal is the solution to it is mostly connected with the very specific and premium content that you are creating. So you need to first go directly to customers, generate data, what they watch, when they watch it, if they like it, if they watch it whole or if just a part of it. And then you build data-driven strategies based on it, and you try to be proactive. So for example, I know that I have a premium content that will be launched next month, and I want to look into data of my platform consumption to see who are the clients that will generate the most bang for buck when I offer them this content, and I can send them an email. Very simple, send them an email. launch a push notification in the right time, at the right place, saying, look, there's new episode, look, there's new content. And this is the way you can tie the consumers much more into your platform and into your content.
Doing the research on formats is really important because you can see who is your target group and who do you really want to attract. And do we need more online, or do we need a TikTok or metaverse, or what do we need around it to make it, bigger, to attract more people?
And you just mentioned the word metaverse. Are you producing anything in the metaverse world?
Yeah. We had a pilot on The Voice. Unfortunately, no facts yet, so we are really waiting. You were talking about loneliness, and you see more and more people, going to metaverse platforms. Or for Love Island, we also have a villa, a hideaway, where they can not date, but meet and chat. And so that's absolutely the future.
Okay, so you have already, is it already live or is it in production?
Yeah, Villa Hotel Hideaways is already live since 2 days.
Oh, fantastic.
And The Voice Metaverse is already for a few months live, so we are test casing that. Yeah.
You as well, Michael, are you investing in this type of content in Greece? Or?
No, we don't have so much money. No. No, we're not yet. No.
So going to another statement, I said content is not king. I'm going to send another one. Live TV is not dead. In fact, live is very live. Shows like yours probably proves it, no? Shows like Love Island or The Voice, where people want to vote online or they want to comment in social media who's going to be the winner. They want to find it live and not via social media. So I would like to ask the three of you percentages in the population that are watching live versus on-demand content. Let's start with reality shows, monetizing and all that.
This is a really interesting question, because what we see is that for Love Island, for example, you see a lot of younger viewers, want to influence, want to vote. But on the other hand, because of the budgets are so under pressure, you also see that we will produce for the very first time a Love Island in one of the territories, totally pre-recorded, so not live, because it makes it more affordable for smaller territories. So you see also how can we solve that, because live is for some territories too expensive, and we are looking at how can we sell it in a lot of countries for the budget they have. And so it's a choice, but absolutely live is where you can do it. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Do you agree, Michael?
Well, I guess it depends on how you define on-demand viewing, because if you include YouTube and if you include all the AVOD platforms in there and the social media platforms where content is being consumed, it's a very different story. If, however, the question is between free-to-air television and SVOD platform viewing, then I would say SVOD probably is less than 10%. While free-to-air TV viewing is as high as ever in Greece, and I think in more markets. So TV consumption hasn't really dropped, but probably I would say the medium age of the TV viewing audience is increasing.
Oh, wow.
Which means younger people really are not as avid viewers. As
in the rest of the world, you see linear, slowly declining everywhere.
Yeah.
And another comment is about what you said, churn and returning. We just did at Omdia a study in the UK where cost of living is really a problem, inflation and everything. But surprisingly, people are not cutting. In fact, they are spending in more streaming video services. And despite Netflix losing subscribers last quarter and people predicting they're dead, they're super alive, they're still the favorite video service around the world, including the UK. So do you think that crisis means many times people spending more in entertainment at home?
Yes, absolutely. We see that for sure. I don't know how it is in Greece.
How is in Greece the situation with the crisis and people paying more for content or less?
Well, I think we're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen once the American streaming services launch in a few days from now across the wider region. and then see how much money the average consumer is willing to be spending on paying for SVOD services. I don't think anyone has the answer right now. I think everybody's waiting to see how high is high enough, right?
Yeah, and that's why I see, a lot of eFODs as well, where Netflix want to do the eFOD. We have ITVX, where you can, it's for free, and of course you can also subscribe. But you see a lot of changing in that world as well.
But just sorry, Adam, have I interrupted you?
No problem. Please proceed.
No, I just want to say that at the end of the day, as a local streamer, you want to be really the #1 local streaming choice for the local consumer. So you kind of assume that people will continue to be watching Netflix, might add up Disney Plus, might want to be watching HBO. But as a local player, you want to be the local player of choice, in addition to the other choices, the global choices of the consumer.
I know we don't have a lot of time, but Adam, you saved what you wanted to say. But we cannot live without touching a topic very important: safeguarding, protecting the audience, protecting people, because we're talking about customer attention, how to grab attention. Especially in reality shows, you have to be very careful, because not everything, you cannot do everything. You have to protect people, mental health. You cannot make fun of the participants. Safeguarding is a hot topic, especially, ITV had some stories in the past. What can you tell us about that, Diana, about safeguarding?
Yeah. Well, after the whole Love Island incidents in the UK, well, for ITV, it's one of our main priorities, to be really honest. Safeguarding in general, not only duty of care, health and safety, but sustainability, data protections, all risk areas, absolutely important. And for Love Island, we have a mandatory minimum requirements on duty of care. So as from the casting, during the recordings, but also the aftercare, it's really, really important. You need, for every format you make, create a safe environment for your crew, for your talents, for your candidates. And that's already what we do within the ITV production companies. But we are now finalizing a website for all the clients worldwide, where we give a lot of tips and tricks and do's and don'ts on all this risk area. So that's an extra service. And the rules in every territory are totally different. So everybody can use that.
And to close, because we have 1 minute, we're going to start with you, Adam. But to summarize the last 30 seconds of today's panel, any advice you want to give to the audience, anything you want to remark as a trend, or what attracted you to be here with this audience in Croatia?
The view, for sure. No, it's an amazing place, and I'm always very, very glad to be here. It's a unique opportunity for our region here. I'm working in Central and Eastern Europe mostly, and it's compared to other regions, it's sometimes very difficult to do business here, and this event is one of those that make it easier. But I would like to end on a positive note. As you said, competition, global. We're working both with global brands and with local platforms. And what we see with user behavior is that both these groups are there to stay. So people will always want to have access to the global trends and global content, but they also want to be proud, and they want to enjoy their national, their local, their special content. And this is really what we see happening. This is here to stay, and I believe that we have all of us here a very good chance to succeed if we follow the preferences of our consumers.
Thank you, Adam. And to close, Diana, what attracts you of coming here to Dubrovnik, of Central and Eastern Europe? What opportunities do you see in this region?
Well, it is so good to have to network, and when you sit down somewhere, let's say at the pool with a nice drink, everybody joins, and you meet a lot of new people and exchanging experiences. Well, that's my job. So I really like it here.
So go to have a drink with her by the pool, and you may get a show in ITV Studios. Don't lose this opportunity. Michael, what do you love about Croatia, Dubrovnik, so Central Eastern Europe?
It's a high growth area, both commercially but also creatively, and I think you don't find this in many territories. So for me, it's definitely a region of high interest, and I do believe that some of the next big series and stories will come out of the CE region, and we just need to work together and make the local go global. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much to my three wonderful panelists. I hope you enjoyed, and feel free to ask them questions after this panel. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Maria.